24 hours after I agreed to give them a second chance, I stood before the Pacific Council in a room that smelled like old power and older lies, and realized forgiveness might have been the biggest mistake of my life. The council chamber was exactly what you'd expect from alphas who'd been ruling the Pacific Northwest for 3 generations. Intimidating as hell. Vaulted ceilings, dark wood paneling, a semicircle of elevated seats where 12 of the most powerful alphas in the region sat like judges at a trial, which I guess this kind of was. I stood in the center of the marble floor, Callum on my right, Dante on my left, Silas slightly behind me. United front. That's what we'd agreed on last night. Face the council together, tell them the truth, prove the bond was stable. Simple. Except nothing about this felt simple. Elder Marcus sat at the center of the semicircle, his smile as sharp as it had been yesterday when he delivered the summons. To his left sat Elder Chen, a woman in her 60s with steel gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. To his right, Elder Blackwood, a massive alpha who looked like he could snap someone in half just by looking at them wrong. The other 9 council members flanked them, all watching us with varying degrees of suspicion, curiosity, and barely concealed hostility. Omega Calloway, Elder Marcus began, his voice echoing in the vast space. Thank you for joining us. Didn't really have a choice, I said. Callum tensed beside me. Silas made a soft sound that might have been a warning. I didn't care. If they wanted honesty, they were going to get it. Elder Marcus's smile widened. Indeed. Shall we begin? Let's. He gestured to a chair in the center of the floor. Alone. Separate from the triplets. Please sit. I looked at the chair, then at Callum. He gave me a slight nod. Trust us, his expression said. We're right here. I sat. The moment I did, I felt it. The bond pulling tight, stretching as the physical distance increased. Not painful, just present. A reminder that even though we'd reconciled, the bond was still fragile, still healing. Omega Calloway, Elder Chen spoke this time, her voice measured and precise. We've called you here separately from your claimed alphas to ensure you're speaking freely, without influence or coercion. I'm always speaking freely, I said. Whether people listen is another story. A few council members shifted uncomfortably. Noted. Elder Chen pulled out a folder. Let's start with the basics. 6 months ago, you left the Northwest Sovereign Pact. Can you tell us why? Here we go. I glanced at the triplets. They stood perfectly still, 3 statues carved from tension and barely controlled anxiety. Callum's face was neutral, but I saw the tightness around his eyes. Dante's hands were shoved in his pockets, jaw clenched. Silas looked like he was holding his breath. I turned back to Elder Chen. I left because I thought they were replacing me. Murmurs rippled through the council. Replacing you, Elder Marcus repeated slowly. With the Crescent Moon Pact's Omega daughter? Yes. And were they? I paused. This was the moment. Tell the truth, we'd agreed, all of it. No, I said finally. They weren't. The alliance negotiation was political theater. Smoke and mirrors to appease the council while they bought time to solidify their territorial claim. More murmurs, louder this time. So they deceived the council, Elder Blackwood rumbled. They played politics, I corrected, which from what I understand is pretty standard around here. Watch your tone, Omega, someone from the upper tier snapped. Or what? I shot back. You'll what exactly? Punish me for being honest? Isn't that why I'm here? Elder Chen raised a hand, and the room fell silent. Continue, Omega Calloway. You discovered the alliance was false? Then what? Then I confronted them, asked for the truth, and they said nothing. The words tasted bitter. So I left, because silence felt like confirmation, and I wasn't going to stay somewhere I wasn't wanted. And the bond deterioration? Elder Marcus leaned forward. When did that begin? The moment I walked out the door. You attempted to sever a royal bond. It wasn't a question. I tried, I admitted. Obviously, it didn't work. Royal bonds cannot be severed, Elder Chen said. Only broken, and breaking one kills both parties. Yeah, I figured that out around month 3 when the heat suppressants started failing, and I could barely keep food down. I felt Dante flinch behind me, heard Silas's sharp intake of breath. Elder Marcus studied me carefully. And yet you stayed away for 6 months, despite the physical deterioration, despite the pain. Why? Because I was stubborn, because I was hurt, because I'd rather die than crawl back to people who'd made me feel disposable. But I didn't say any of that. Because I needed to know if they'd come after me, I said quietly. If I mattered enough for them to fight for me, instead of just waiting for me to come back on my own. The silence that followed was deafening. And did they? Elder Chen asked. I looked at Callum, at the guilt written across his perfect, controlled face. No, I said. They didn't. The council erupted. Voices overlapped, alphas arguing, accusations flying. I caught fragments. Neglect, abandonment of bond, unfit to lead. Elder Marcus slammed his hand on the desk, and the room fell silent again. Omega Calloway, do you believe your alphas are fit to maintain their territorial claim? I opened my mouth to answer, and that's when it happened. A sudden, blinding pressure behind my eyes, a rushing sound like static, and then, much crystal clear, as if someone had turned on a radio inside my skull, I heard it. Say no. Give us the justification we need to remove them. We'll protect you. Provide for you. You'll never want for anything. The voice was Elder Marcus's, but his lips hadn't moved. I stared at him, heart pounding. Come on, Omega. You know they failed you. Just say the words. Oh God, I could hear his thoughts. I jerked back in the chair, and the connection snapped. The pressure vanished. But the echo of his voice remained, ringing in my head like a bell I couldn't unring. Omega Calloway, Elder Chen prompted. Are you all right? No, I was absolutely not all right, because I just discovered I could read minds. And the council's intentions weren't to protect me. They wanted to destroy the triplets, and they were trying to use me to do it. I looked at Elder Marcus, at his patient, predatory smile, and felt something inside me shift. Not break, shift, into something harder, sharper, something that refused to be anyone's weapon ever again. I need a moment, I said, standing abruptly. Omega Calloway, we're not finished. I said I need a moment. My voice came out cold, controlled. Nothing like the scared, hurt Omega who'd walked into this room. I turned and walked toward the doors, ignoring the protests behind me, ignoring Callum calling my name, ignoring everything except the sudden, overwhelming need to get out of this room before I did something I'd regret. Like telling the entire council exactly what I just heard inside Elder Marcus's twisted mind. The doors slammed behind me, and I stood in the empty hallway, hands shaking, mind racing, and one thought screaming louder than all the rest. What the hell just happened to me? My back hit the marble wall of the hallway, cool and solid, grounding me when everything else felt like it was spinning out of control. I pressed my palms flat against it, trying to steady my breathing. In, out, in, out. The door behind me burst open. Ezra! Callum's voice, tight with concern and something else, something I couldn't name. Or could I? I looked at him, and the moment our eyes met, that pressure slammed back into my skull. Not painful, just overwhelming, like someone had cranked the volume on a radio station I didn't know existed. He's pale, too pale. The bond stress. We pushed too hard bringing him here. Marcus is going to use this against us. I need to get him out. I need to fix this. Why can't I ever just fix this? The thoughts came rapid fire, tumbling over each other in Callum's voice, but not out loud. Inside, in my head. I stumbled backward, and Callum reached for me. Don't. The word came out sharper than I intended. Don't touch me. He froze, hand extended, hurt flashing across his face. Ezra, what's wrong? What happened in there? Did Marcus threaten him? Did someone say something? He looks terrified. God, I'm going to kill whoever made him look like that. Stop, I whispered. Stop what? I'm not doing anything. You're thinking too loud. Callum blinked. What? The door opened again. Dante and Silas spilled out, their expressions matching masks of worry and confusion. And the volume in my head went from loud to deafening. He bolted. Why did he bolt? What did they say to him? Oh, I swear, if Marcus pulled something, that was Dante. He's shaking. He never shakes. Something's wrong. Something's really wrong. I should have insisted we stay with him. This was a mistake. All of this was a mistake. That was Silas. I pressed my hands over my ears like that would help. It didn't. The thoughts kept coming, crashing over me in waves. Ezra? Silas moved closer, slowly, like I was a spooked animal. Talk to us. What's going on? I can hear you, I said. Yeah, we're right here. No, I can hear you, all of you, your thoughts, in my head, right now. I looked at each of them in turn. Callum thinks Marcus threatened me. Dante's planning murder. And Silas thinks this whole thing was a mistake. The three of them went very still. That's not possible, Callum said carefully. Tell me something, I said, staring at Dante. Think something, anything. Don't say it out loud. Just think it. Dante's green eyes narrowed, but he didn't argue. His gaze locked on mine, and I felt the connection snap into place like a puzzle piece. Purple elephants wearing top hats and dancing the tango. I laughed. Actually laughed, even though nothing about this situation was funny. Purple elephants? Really? Dante's face went white. Holy shit. Yeah, I said. Holy shit. Silas made a sound between a gasp and a choke. You're telepathic. Apparently. I slid down the wall until I was sitting on the cold marble floor, head in my hands. As of about 5 minutes ago, when Elder Marcus tried to manipulate me into saying you three were unfit to rule. What? Callum's voice went deadly quiet. I looked up at him. He didn't say it out loud, but I heard it. Clear as day. He wanted me to give the council justification to remove your territorial claim. And he wasn't asking. He was trying to plant the suggestion in my head. The hallway temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. That's not possible, Callum said again. But this time there was less certainty in his voice. Council members can't use Alpha Command on bonded Omegas without permission from their mates. He wasn't using command. It was subtler, like a whisper, a nudge. I rubbed my temples, trying to ease the lingering pressure. And I only caught it because apparently my brain decided now was a great time to develop psychic abilities. This is insane, Dante muttered. This is actually insane. You think I don't know that? I shot back. 5 minutes ago, I was a normal Omega with abandonment issues and a failing heat cycle. Now I'm reading minds and uncovering council conspiracies. So yeah, Dante, insane pretty much covers it. The door to the council chamber opened, and Elder Chen stepped out, her expression unreadable. Omega Calloway, she said, the council is waiting for your answer. I looked at her, and before I could stop myself, I reached out with whatever this new ability was. The connection formed instantly. Poor boy, caught in the middle of politics he doesn't understand. Marcus is going to tear him apart. But if it protects the territorial balance, what choice do we have? She pitied me. She knew what Marcus was doing, and she was going to let it happen anyway. Something cold and hard settled in my chest. Tell the council, I said slowly, standing up, that I need time to consider my answer, and that I'd like to reconvene in 1 hour. Elder Chen's eyebrows rose. That's highly irregular. So is trying to manipulate a bonded Omega during official testimony. I held her gaze. 1 hour, Elder Chen, or I walk out of this building and don't come back. Bond deterioration be damned. He knows. How does he know? Marcus, you fool. You pushed too hard. Elder Chen's expression didn't change, but I heard the panic in her thoughts loud and clear. 1 hour, she agreed. The council will reconvene at noon. She went back inside and the door clicked shut behind her. The silence in the hallway was absolute. Ezra, Callum started. Don't. I held up a hand. Whatever you're about to say, just don't. I need to think. And I can't do that with all of you broadcasting your thoughts at me like I'm some kind of emotional radio receiver. Can you turn it off? Silas asked quietly. I don't know. I don't know how I turned it on. I started walking toward the far end of the hallway, away from them, away from the council chamber, away from everything. I just need space. 5 minutes, please. I didn't wait for an answer. The hallway led to a small alcove with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seattle. Rain streaked down the glass, the city gray and blurred beyond it. I pressed my forehead against the cool window and closed my eyes. Telepathy. I was telepathic, which meant every thought, every intention, every lie and truth and hidden agenda was suddenly accessible to me. No more guessing. No more wondering if people meant what they said. I would know. Always. The thought should have been comforting. Instead, it was terrifying. Because what I'd heard in that council chamber, in Elder Marcus's twisted mind, wasn't just about removing the triplets from power. There was something else, something darker lurking beneath the surface, something about me, about Omegas, about control. I opened my eyes and stared at my reflection in the rain-streaked glass. I looked the same. Same dark hair, same amber eyes, same face that had cried itself to sleep for 6 months. But I wasn't the same. Not anymore. Ezra. I turned. Callum stood at the entrance to the alcove, maintaining careful distance. The others were further back, giving me space. "I'm not going back in there," I said. "Okay." "I mean it, Callum. Whatever game the council is playing, whatever they want from me, I'm done. I'm not anyone's pawn. Not theirs, not yours, not anyone's." "I know." He took a slow step forward. "And I'm not asking you to be." "Then what are you asking?" "I'm asking you to let us help you figure out what this new ability means, what it can do, how to control it." Another step. "Because right now you're reading every thought of every person in this building, and I can see on your face that it's overwhelming you." He wasn't wrong. The pressure was constant now, a low hum of dozens of minds all thinking, feeling, existing around me. It was like standing in a crowded room where everyone was talking at once, and I couldn't tune any of it out. "I don't know how to stop it," I admitted. "Then we figure it out together." "Why?" The question came out raw. "Why do you care? This doesn't affect the bond. It doesn't help your political situation. So why does it matter to you if I'm drowning in other people's thoughts?" Callum closed the distance between us, and this time I didn't stop him. His hand came up to cup my face, gentle and warm. "Because I love you. Because watching you hurt kills me. Because I would give up everything. The territory, the title, all of it, if it meant you were safe and whole and happy." The thought was so clear, so sincere, that it stole my breath. "Did you hear that?" he asked softly. "Yeah," I whispered. "I heard it." "Good." His thumb brushed my cheekbone. "Because I mean it. Every word. And now you'll always know when I'm telling the truth." Something in my chest cracked. Not broke. Just cracked. Like the first fracture in ice before the thaw. "I'm scared," I said. "I know. Of the council. Of this power. Of everything. I know." He leaned his forehead against mine. "But you're not alone. Not this time. Whatever happens in that chamber, whatever the council tries to do, we face it together. Really together. No more secrets. No more strategies. Just us, okay?" I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to believe him so badly. But I'd believed before, and it had shattered me. "Prove it," I said. "How?" I pulled back, meeting his eyes. "Go back in that chamber. Tell the council the truth about the fake alliance. Take full responsibility. Accept whatever consequences they hand down. Show me that you're willing to lose everything to do the right thing." Callum's expression didn't change, but in his mind I heard the war. "If I do this, we lose the territory. The pack gets disbanded. 200 people lose their home. Hey, but if I don't, I lose him. And I can't. I can't lose him again." "Okay," he said. "Okay? I'll do it." He straightened and his alpha mask slipped back into place. But his eyes stayed soft, stayed honest. "I'll tell them everything. And whatever happens after, we'll face it. Together." I stared at him, searching for the lie. Found only truth. "Then let's go," I said. And together we walked back toward the council chamber, toward the truth, toward whatever came next, even if it destroyed us all. The council chamber doors felt heavier this time. Or maybe that was just the weight of what we were about to do, pressing down on my shoulders. Callum's hand found mine for a brief moment. Squeezed once, then let go. Professional distance, united front. Except this time, I knew exactly what he was thinking. Don't let me lose him. Whatever happens, don't let me lose him again. The doors opened. 12 pairs of eyes locked onto us as we entered. The chamber felt smaller now, the air thicker. Or maybe that was just my new ability picking up on the collective tension radiating from every alpha in the room. Elder Marcus smiled. That same predatory smile that made my skin crawl. Finally, the Omega's back. Now we can finish this. I kept my expression neutral and sat back down in the center chair. Callum, Dante, and Silas took their positions behind me, close enough to support, far enough to let me speak for myself. Omega Calloway, Elder Marcus began, have you had sufficient time to compose yourself? I'm perfectly composed, Elder Marcus. I met his gaze head on. In fact, I've never been more clear-headed in my life. Careful. He's different. Something's changed. Elder Chen shifted in her seat, her thoughts bleeding through the mental static. The boy's eyes, they're different, sharper. What happened in that hallway? Excellent, Elder Marcus continued, seemingly oblivious to my newfound ability. Then let's continue. You were about to answer whether you believe the triplet alphas are fit to maintain their territorial claim. Actually, Callum's voice cut through the chamber, strong and clear. I'd like to address the council first. Every head turned toward him. Elder Marcus's smile tightened. That's irregular, King Ashford. So is attempting to manipulate a bonded Omega during official testimony, Callum said calmly. But here we are. The temperature in the room plummeted. He knows, the Omega told him. Damn it. Elder Marcus's thoughts screamed panic even as his face remained composed. That's a serious accusation. It's the truth. Callum moved forward, standing beside my chair now instead of behind it. And speaking of truth, I have a confession to make to this council. I felt Dante and Silas tense behind me, heard their thoughts spiral. What is he doing? We didn't plan this. Callum, what are you doing? He's protecting Ezra. He's going to take the fall. All of it. No, but Callum's mind was steady, resolved, terrified but resolved. The alliance negotiation with the Crescent Moon Pack was never real, Callum said, his voice carrying through the chamber. It was political theater designed to satisfy the council's concerns about our age and stability while we solidified our territorial claim. And we had no intention of bonding with their Omega daughter. We never did. The chamber erupted, voices overlapped, alphas shouting, accusations flying. I caught fragments of thoughts and words mixing together in a chaotic symphony. Fraud! They lied to us for months. Deception! This is grounds for immediate removal. Manipulation of council proceedings. Finally, the justification we needed. Elder Marcus stood, and the room fell silent. His expression was carefully controlled, but his thoughts were screaming triumph. Got them. Finally got them. Years of these upstart kings thinking they could rule without consequences. Now we remove them, redistribute the territory, and install proper leadership, traditional leadership. King Ashford, Elder Marcus said slowly, you admit to deliberately deceiving this council? I admit to playing the same political games that have been played in this chamber for generations, Callum replied. The only difference is I'm admitting it. The difference, Elder Blackwood rumbled, is that we have laws against such deception, laws with consequences. I'm aware. Callum's jaw was tight, but his voice stayed steady. And I'm prepared to face those consequences. Callum, don't! Dante moved forward, but Callum held up a hand. This is my choice, Callum said. My strategy, my responsibility. He's going to sacrifice everything. For what? For us? For the Omega? This is insane. Dante's thoughts were desperate, angry, lost. The consequences, Elder Chen said quietly, are removal of territorial claim, disbanding of pact structure, way in exile from the Pacific Council jurisdiction. All three of you. Silas made a wounded sound. The bond in my chest pulled tight, and I felt their collective anguish wash over me in waves. Not just emotionally, mentally. Their thoughts a chorus of grief and guilt and desperate love. We're losing everything. The pack, the territory, our home. Because of me. Because I couldn't let Ezra take the fall. 200 people. 200 people we swore to protect. Where will they go? What will happen to them? Ezra. God, Ezra. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. We tried. We tried so hard. The voices in my head were suffocating, but not as suffocating as what I heard from the council. Good. Finally. Now we can install Marcus's nephew as territorial alpha. Traditional bloodlines restored, the Omegas in their pack will be redistributed. Some to my territory. Good breeding stock. These young kings never understood true alpha hierarchy. Time they learned. Breeding stock. Redistributed. Traditional bloodlines. The words echoed in my head, each one colder than the last, and suddenly I understood. This wasn't about politics or proper procedure or territorial stability. This was about power and control, and Omegas like me being treated like property to be redistributed. Something inside me snapped, not broke, snapped into place. I stood. No, I said. Every eye in the chamber turned to me. Omega Calloway, Elder Marcus began. You're out of order. I don't care. I moved forward, positioning myself between Callum and the council. You want to talk about deception? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how Elder Marcus tried to plant suggestions in my head to manipulate my testimony. Let's talk about how Elder Chen knew about it and did nothing. Let's talk about what you're really after. He can't know that. He can't possibly know. Elder Marcus's thoughts were frantic now. You're upset, he said aloud, voice soothing, patronizing. Understandably so, but making wild accusations won't help your alphas. They're not wild accusations. I looked at each council member in turn. Elder Marcus, you want to install your nephew as territorial alpha. Elder Blackwood, you're already planning which Omegas from our pack you'll claim for breeding stock. And Elder Chen, you knew all of this and justified it as protecting territorial balance. The silence that followed was absolute. How? Elder Chen breathed. How could you possibly? And then understanding dawned on her face, on several faces. Telepathy. The Omega is telepathic. That's what changed. Impossible, Elder Marcus said, but his voice shook. Omegas don't have psychic abilities. This one does. I smiled, and it wasn't nice. As of about 20 minutes ago, right around the time you tried to manipulate me. Funny how extreme stress can trigger latent abilities, isn't it? The chamber exploded again, but this time the voices were different, uncertain, afraid. If he can read minds, he knows everything. Every backroom deal, every secret agenda, every dirty little thought you've ever had about Omegas? I finished aloud, locking eyes with Elder Blackwood. Yeah, I know all of it. Elder Blackwood's face went purple. You dare! I dare! I stepped forward, and he actually leaned back. Because here's what's going to happen. You're going to drop this investigation, you're going to confirm the Triplet's territorial claim, and you're going to leave our pack alone. Or what? Elder Marcus demanded. You'll expose us? Who would believe you? An emotionally unstable Omega who abandoned his alphas and came crawling back 6 months later. The words were designed to hurt, to diminish. They just made me angry. I don't need anyone to believe me, I said quietly. I can prove it, right now. I can tell you exactly what each council member is thinking. Every secret, every scheme, every fear. Want me to start naming them? Out loud? In front of everyone? The panic in the room was palpable. He's bluffing. He has to be bluffing. What if he's not? What if he actually can? My affair. If he knows about my affair, the embezzlement from the Northern Territory Fund. No one knows about that. No one. Elder Davies, I said, looking at a nervous-looking alpha in the third row. The embezzlement from the Northern Territory Fund. How much was it again? 70,000? Or was it 80? Elder Davies went white as a sheet. Elder Morrison, I continued, turning to a woman on the left. Your affair with the beta from the Eastern Coalition. Does your mate know about that yet? Elder Morrison stood abruptly, her chair scraping across the floor. Should I keep going? I asked, looking at Elder Marcus. Because I can do this all day. Every secret, every lie, every dirty deal. All of it. Elder Marcus's face was a mask of controlled fury, but his thoughts were chaos. This can't be happening. He's too powerful and friend too dangerous. We need to eliminate the threat. We need to... You need to what? I asked softly, dangerously. Eliminate me? The bonded omega of 3 territorial alphas? In front of the entire council? How do you think that would go, Marcus? His eyes widened. He hadn't said that out loud, but I'd heard it anyway. The room was silent now, every alpha watching, calculating, realizing that the balance of power had just shifted in a way none of them had anticipated. The council will take a recess, Elder Chen said quietly, her voice cutting through the tension, to discuss these developments. Good idea, I said. Take all the time you need. But remember, I'll know what you decide before you even announce it, so choose wisely. I turned and walked toward the doors, Callum, Dante, and Silas falling into step beside me. Dimrated, their thoughts were a mixture of shock, awe, and something that felt a lot like pride. That was the most incredible thing I've ever seen. He just brought the entire council to its knees. That's my Omega. That's my fierce, beautiful, terrifying Omega. The doors closed behind us, and I finally let myself breathe. Ezra, Callum started. Not yet, I said, still walking. Not until we're out of this building. Not until I can't hear their thoughts anymore. Because right now, the council chamber behind me was a storm of fear and fury and desperate scheming, and I could hear every single thought, every plan to undermine me, every fear of what I could do, every realization that the game had changed. And for the first time in 6 months, I didn't feel powerless. I felt dangerous. Whereas we made it 3 hallways and 2 staircases before the adrenaline crashed, and my knees decided they were done holding me up. Dante caught me before I hit the ground. Whoa, easy. His arms wrapped around me, solid and warm. I've got you. He's shaking. When did he start shaking? How long has he been running on pure spite and rage? I'm fine, I said, even though we both knew it was a lie. You're really not. Silas was suddenly on my other side, his hand gentle on my shoulder. Ezra, when's the last time you ate? Or slept? Or did anything other than survive? I tried to remember. Came up blank. That's what I thought. Silas exchanged a look with Dante over my head. Their thoughts synced in a way that only siblings could manage. We need to get him somewhere safe, somewhere quiet, away from all these minds. Agreed. On the penthouse. It's warded, soundproofed. If mental walls work like physical ones, stop planning around me, I muttered. I can hear you. We know, Callum said from ahead of us. He'd stopped at an elevator, already pressing the button. That's why we're not bothering to hide it. Come on, we're going up. Up where? Penthouse suite, top floor. It's ours for situations exactly like this. The elevator dinged, doors sliding open. When council meetings run long or political tensions run high, neutral ground, safe ground. I let Dante half carry me into the elevator. My legs felt like water, and the mental pressure of every mind in this building was a constant static buzz I couldn't escape. The doors closed and the elevator started its ascent. For exactly 3 seconds, the noise in my head dulled. Then it came roaring back, louder than before. Thoughts from above and below, pressing in from all sides. The Omega exposed us. We need damage control. If word gets out about the embezzlement, Marcus is finished. The old guard is finished. This changes everything. We need to eliminate the telepath before he becomes a bigger problem. That last thought came from somewhere below, and it was cold enough to make my blood freeze. Someone wants to kill me, I said aloud. All 3 of them went very still. Who? Dante's voice was deadly quiet. I don't know. The thought came from lower floors. Could be anyone. I pressed my hands over my ears again. A useless gesture. God, it won't stop. All of them. Thinking and scheming and planning, and I can hear every single one. Can you block it out? Silas asked. So, I don't know how. The words came out sharper than I intended. I don't know how any of this works. I don't know how to turn it off, or control it, or make it stop. I just know that my brain is being bombarded with thoughts from hundreds of people, and it's like trying to have a conversation in the middle of a hurricane. The elevator dinged. Top floor. The doors opened onto a private hallway, and the moment I stepped out, the mental noise didn't disappear but dimmed, like someone had turned down the volume from screaming to tolerable background murmur. I nearly sobbed with relief. Better? Callum asked, already moving toward a door at the end of the hall. Yes, why is it better? Warding! He pulled out a keycard. The penthouse is protected. Magical and physical barriers designed to keep out intrusions of all kinds. If telepathy counts as an intrusion, it might be dampening the signal. The door opened onto a space that was somehow both luxurious and comfortable. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seattle, plush furniture in grays and blacks, a full kitchen, and what looked like multiple bedrooms branching off the main living area. And most importantly, the mental noise was down to a distant whisper. I walked to the center of the room and just stood there, breathing. Silence. Actual, blessed silence in my head. Ezra? Silas's voice cautious. I'm okay, I said. Just give me a second. They did. All three of them stood back, giving me space. Their thoughts barely audible whispers now instead of overwhelming shouts. He needs time. He needs food. He needs us to not hover. I almost smiled. I can still hear you. Just quieter. Right. Dante rubbed the back of his neck. Probably need to get used to that. Probably need to get used to a lot of things. I turned to face them, starting with the fact that the council wants me dead. They're not going to touch you, Callum said, and the alpha command in his voice was absolute. Any of them try, they'll have to go through all three of us first. That's sweet and very protective, but you're missing the point. I moved to the windows, staring out at the rain-soaked city. I just became the most dangerous person in the Pacific Northwest. I can expose secrets, uncover plots, read intentions. I'm a walking, talking lie detector that no one can hide from. Do you have any idea what that means? It means you're protected, Silas said quietly. It means I'm a target. I pressed my hand against the glass, and not just from the council, from anyone with secrets to hide. Any alpha who's made a backroom deal, any pack leader who's bent the rules, any politician who's taken a bribe. All of them are going to see me as a threat. Then we leave. Dante moved to stand beside me. Pack up, take our people, and get the hell out of council jurisdiction. And go where? I asked. This ability doesn't have a range limit. Not that I found anyway. I can hear thoughts from floors below us. For all I know, I could hear them from miles away. The thought was terrifying, liberating and terrifying. We'll figure it out, Callum said, joining us at the window. Silas completed the circle on my other side. All four of us reflected in the glass like some kind of twisted portrait. Together, we'll find someone who understands telepathy, a witch, a seer, someone who can teach you control. And until then, you stay here, where it's warded, where you're safe. I laughed, bitter and sharp. Safe, right, because hiding from the problem always works so well. It's not hiding, Silas said. It's regrouping. There's a difference. Is there? I turned to look at them, really look at them. Because from where I'm standing, it feels a lot like 6 months ago. You three making decisions about my safety without asking me what I want. The words landed like stones. Callum's expression tightened. Dante looked away. Silas's eyes shadowed with guilt. He's right. We're doing it again. Old habits, protective instincts. But he's right. How do we protect him without controlling him? How do we keep him safe without making the same mistakes? I don't want to be kept, I said quietly, answering their unspoken thoughts. I want to be partnered with, asked, consulted. I want to make decisions about my own life instead of having them made for me, even if those decisions are dangerous. Even if they scare you. What if they scare us because they're genuinely dangerous? Callum asked. What if the council really does try to hurt you? What if someone decides a telepathic Omega is too much of a threat and takes action? Then I deal with it. Ezra, no, Callum, listen to me. I stepped away from the window, from them, needing space to say this without their thoughts bleeding into mine. For 6 months, I survived on my own. No bond support, no pack protection, no alphas running interference. Just me. And I made it. And was it hard? Yes. Was I dying slowly from bond deterioration? Also, yes. But I did it. I'm stronger than you think. Stronger than even I thought. We know you're strong, Silas said. Do you? Because every time something dangerous happens, your first instinct is to shield me from it, hide me, protect me. I looked at each of them in turn. And I get it. I do. It's biology. It's instinct. It's love even. But it's also suffocating. The word hung in the air like smoke. I'm suffocating you, Callum said flatly. We're suffocating you, Dante corrected, his voice rough. You're trying to protect me in ways that take away my agency, I said, gentler now. And I can't live like that. Not again. Not ever again. Silas sat down on the couch, his head in his hands. So what do you want us to do? Just let you walk into danger? Watch you put yourself at risk and do nothing? I want you to trust me. The words came out firmer than I felt. Trust that I can handle myself. Trust that I'll ask for help when I need it. Trust that I know my own limits. And if you don't, Callum challenged, if you push yourself too far, if you take on more than you can handle and get hurt, then I get hurt and I learn and I grow. I met his gaze. That's what living is, Callum. Taking risks, making mistakes, learning from them. You can't protect me from life itself. I can try, he said, and the raw honesty in his voice nearly broke me. I can't lose you again. I can't watch you suffer. I can't stand by while you're in pain. I love you too much. I know, I whispered, hearing every word he didn't say. But love isn't supposed to feel like a cage. The silence that followed was heavy, weighted with everything we'd been through and everything we still had to navigate. Finally, Dante spoke. Okay. We all turned to look at him. Okay, I repeated. Okay. He shoved his hands in his pockets, his expression serious for once. You want us to trust you? We'll trust you. You want to make your own decisions? Make them. You want us to stop hovering? We'll try. And yeah, we'll probably mess it up sometimes because old habits die hard and biology is a bitch. But we'll try. Dante, Callum started. He's right, Callum. Dante's green eyes were firm. We've been doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. That's the definition of insanity. We need to change. Really change. Not just say we will and then fall back into the same protective patterns the moment things get scary. And what happens when he gets hurt? Callum demanded. What happens when someone comes after him because of his ability and we're too far away to help? Then we deal with it then, I said. Together, as partners. Not as alphas and omega, not as protectors and protected, as equals who respect each other enough to be honest about capabilities and limits. Callum looked like he wanted to argue. His thoughts were a war between instinct and reason, between the need to protect and the need to respect. Finally, he closed his eyes and breathed out slowly. This is going to kill me. Probably, I agreed, but you'll survive. Will I? He opened his eyes and they were bright with unshed emotion. Because watching you walk into danger goes against every instinct I have. I know, but I'm asking you to do it anyway. I moved closer until we were inches apart, because I need to know that you love me enough to let me be free, even when it's hard, even when it scares you. His hand came up to cup my face and his thumb brushed across my cheekbone. I do love you. That's the problem. That's not a problem. That's everything. I leaned into his touch. But love without trust is just pretty words. And I need more than words this time. What do you need? I need you to let me decide what to do next. About the council, about my ability, about everything. I pulled back enough to look at all three of them. And I need you to trust that whatever I decide, I'm doing it with full awareness of the risks. And what do you decide? Silas asked quietly. I took a breath, let it out, and said the words that were going to change everything. I'm leaving Seattle. The bond yanked tight in my chest and all three of them flinched like I'd physically struck them. What? Callum's voice was barely a whisper. I'm leaving. Not forever. Just until I figure out how to control this ability. Until I learn how to not be a weapon that everyone wants to use or eliminate. I looked at each of them. And I need to do it alone. No, Dante said immediately. Yes, Ezra, you can't. I can, and I will. My voice was steady even though my heart was racing. Because if I stay here, surrounded by all of you trying to protect me, I'll never learn how to protect myself. And I'll never know if I'm strong enough to handle this on my own terms. The bond, Silas started, will hurt, I know, but it won't kill us. Not anymore. We stabilized it last night, remember? We'll survive the distance. For how long? Callum demanded. I met his eyes. As long as it takes. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Callum's hand dropped from my face. He took a step back, then another, like I'd physically pushed him. His expression went carefully blank, but his thoughts were screaming. He's leaving. Again. We just got him back and he's leaving again. I can't do this again. Where? Dante's voice was flat, empty. Where are you going? Portland. Portland, he repeated like the word was foreign. 3 hours away. Far enough to think, close enough to come back if... I trailed off. If what? If I failed? If the bond deteriorated again? If I realized I couldn't do this alone? If you change your mind, Silas finished quietly. He'd gone pale, his blue eyes too bright. That's what you were going to say, wasn't it? I didn't answer. Didn't need to. He could see it on my face. This is insane. Dante started pacing, his movements sharp and agitated. You just discovered you have telepathy. You're barely holding it together. The council wants you dead. And you want to go off alone to a city where you have no support, no protection, no backup? Yes. That's suicide. That's growth. I crossed my arms. And before you start listing all the reasons this is a terrible idea, I've already thought of them. Every single one. I know the risks. I know it's dangerous. I know it's going to hurt. And I'm doing it anyway. Why? Callum's voice cut through Dante's pacing. Tell me why. Make me understand why you need to do this alone when you have 3 alphas who would do anything to help you. Because I need to know I can. The simplicity of it seemed to stop him cold. That's it? He asked. That's your reason? That's everything. I moved toward him, needing him to see this, to really see it. For 6 months, I was alone and dying. Then I came back and suddenly I'm surrounded by protection and love and people making decisions for my safety. And I never got the chance to figure out who I am in between those two extremes. You're our Omega, Silas said softly. I know, but I'm also Ezra, just Ezra. And I need to know what that means outside the context of bond and pack and politics. I looked at each of them. I need to know I'm strong enough to stand on my own before I can truly stand beside you as equals. You are strong enough, Dante insisted. Maybe, but I don't feel it. I pressed a hand to my chest. I feel like I've been defined by this bond my entire adult life. First by the joy of it, then by the absence of it, then by the pain of it deteriorating, and now by this new ability that everyone wants to use or destroy. I need space to figure out who I am when none of that is the loudest voice in my head. Callum was quiet for a long moment. His thoughts were a tangled mess of fear and understanding, love and loss, desperate need to keep me safe, and growing awareness that keeping me safe might mean letting me go. How long? He asked finally. I don't know. Ezra, I don't, Callum. I can't give you a timeline or a deadline or a promise that I'll be back in 2 weeks. I held his gaze. All I can tell you is that I'll come back when I'm ready, when I've learned enough control to not be a danger to myself or others, when I know who I am outside of all of this. And if the bond deteriorates again, Silas asked, if the distance becomes too much, then I'll come back sooner. I'm not trying to kill us all. I'm just trying to find myself. By leaving us, Dante said bitterly. By choosing myself, I corrected. There's a difference. He turned away and I felt his anger like a physical force, not just in his thoughts, but in the bond itself, hot and sharp and hurting. 6 months we waited. 6 months we hoped. And the moment we get him back, he's gone again. How is this fair? How is any of this fair? It's not fair, I said aloud, answering his thoughts. But it's necessary. For who? Dante spun around and his eyes were blazing. For you. Fine. Great. Go find yourself in Portland. Figure out who you are without the big bad alphas hovering over you. But don't pretend this isn't killing us. Don't stand there and act like this is some noble journey of self-discovery when what it really is you running away again. The words hit like a slap. I'm not running. Aren't you? He moved closer, and the hurt in his voice was devastating. 6 months ago, you ran because you thought we were replacing you. Now you're running because you think we're suffocating you. Same pattern, different excuse. That's not fair. Neither is you leaving. He was shouting now, all his control shattered. Neither is watching you walk away twice in a year and wondering if this time you're not coming back at all. Neither is loving someone who keeps choosing distance over us. I'm not choosing distance. I'm choosing myself, I shouted back. And if you can't see the difference, if you can't understand why I need this, then maybe I'm making the right decision. The moment the words left my mouth, I regretted them. Dante went very still, very quiet. Maybe he's right. Maybe he does need to leave. Because we're clearly not enough. We're never enough. Dante, I didn't mean... No, you did. His voice was hollow now, empty. You meant exactly that. And you know what? You're right. Go. Go to Portland. Go figure yourself out. We'll be here. Or maybe we won't. But maybe we'll finally learn how to let go. He walked past me toward one of the bedrooms and slammed the door behind him. The sound echoed in the sudden silence. I stood there shaking, feeling like I'd just broken something I couldn't fix. He doesn't mean that, Silas said quietly. He's hurt. He's lashing out. He doesn't mean it. Yes, he does. I could still hear Dante's thoughts through the closed door, anguished and furious. And maybe he's right too. Maybe I am just running in a prettier package. You're not. Silas moved closer, his hand gentle on my shoulder. You're doing what you need to do to survive, to grow. That's not running. That's brave. Doesn't feel brave. Brave things rarely do. I looked at Callum, who'd been silent through the entire argument. His expression was unreadable, but his thoughts were clear enough. Let him go. You have to let him go. If you hold on too tight, you'll break what's left. But God, it hurts. It hurts so much. Say something, I whispered. What do you want me to say? His voice was carefully controlled. That I think this is a good idea? I don't. That I support your decision? I'll try to. That I'm okay with you leaving? I'm not. I'm really not. But I love you enough to not make this harder than it already is. He crossed the space between us and pulled me into his arms. So if you need to go, go. Learn what you need to learn. Become who you need to become. Just what? Come back. His voice broke on the words. Please, Ezra, however long it takes, whatever you need to do, just promise me you'll come back. I wrapped my arms around him and felt the bond pulse between us, fragile and strong at the same time. I promise, I said into his chest. When? Silas asked from behind me. I pulled back enough to look at both of them. Tomorrow. I need tonight to pack, to say goodbye properly, I swallowed hard, to prepare for this to hurt like hell. It's going to hurt more than hell, Callum said quietly. I know. And you're still going. I have to. He studied my face for a long moment, then nodded. Okay, then let's make tonight count. The rain had stopped by the time we gathered in the living room. All four of us. Dante had eventually come out of the bedroom, his eyes red, his anger replaced by something heavier. Resignation, maybe, or grief. And we sat around the coffee table with takeout containers that no one was really eating, the television playing something none of us were watching, and the weight of tomorrow hanging over everything. I got you an apartment, Callum said suddenly. I looked up. What? In Portland. A friend of mine owns a building in the Pearl District. Safe neighborhood. Warded. He owes me a favor, so it's yours for as long as you need it. Callum, don't argue, please. He met my eyes. Let me do this one thing. Let me know you'll have a roof over your head and walls between you and whoever might want to hurt you. I wanted to protest, wanted to insist I could find my own place, but his thoughts were so desperate, so scared that I just nodded. Thank you. I set up an account, Silas added quietly. For expenses. Food, supplies, whatever you need. It's separate from pack funds. Just so you don't have to worry about money while you're figuring things out. Silas, please, he echoed Callum. Let us do this. I looked at both of them, then at Dante, who'd been silent through the whole exchange. What about you? I asked. Do you have some parting gift to make yourself feel better about me leaving? It came out harsher than I intended. Dante looked at me, and the hurt in his eyes was devastating. No gift, just a question. What? Do you actually want to come back? His voice was steady, but his thoughts were chaos. Or is this just a nice way of ending things, without having to say it's over? The question stole my breath. Of course I want to come back. Do you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks a lot like you're preparing for a life without us. New city, new apartment, new beginning. What do you need us for in that equation? Everything, I said, and meant it. I need you for everything, but I also need to know I can exist without you. There's a difference. Is there? He leaned forward. Because it feels like you're choosing one or the other, not both. I'm choosing both, eventually, but right now I'm choosing me. And we're supposed to just wait around while you do? I'm not asking you to wait. The words came out harder than I intended. I'm not asking you to put your lives on hold. If you meet someone else, if you decide this is too hard, if you want to move on, I won't stop you. The silence that followed was suffocating. You can't mean that, Silas whispered. I do. Ezra? No. Listen. I looked at each of them. I can't ask you to wait for me when I don't know how long I'll be gone. I can't ask you to stay faithful to someone who's choosing to leave. That's not fair to any of us. So what are you saying? Callum's voice was dangerous, quiet. That we're free to pursue other bonds? Other omegas? I'm saying I won't hold it against you if you do. But would you come back? Dante asked. If we did, if we moved on, would you still come back? The question hung in the air like a blade. I don't know, I admitted. And that, more than anything else I'd said, seemed to break them. Dante stood abruptly. I need air. He walked to the balcony and stood in the darkness, his silhouette framed by the city lights. Silas covered his face with his hands, and Callum just stared at me like he didn't recognize me anymore. I should go, I said quietly. Yeah, Callum agreed. You should. The words were gentle, kind even, but they felt like goodbye. I stood, grabbed my jacket, and headed for the door. Ezra. I stopped, turned. Callum was standing now, his expression carefully controlled, his thoughts a mess of love and loss. Tomorrow, before you leave, come say goodbye. Properly. I will. Promise me. I promise. He nodded, and I walked out, closing the door softly behind me. The mental noise of the building hit me immediately, dozens of minds pressing in, but I barely noticed. All I could hear was the sound of 3 hearts breaking behind that closed door, and the terrible certainty that mine was breaking too. I made it to the elevator before the tears came. Ah, stupid. So stupid. I pressed the button repeatedly like that would make it arrive faster, like speed could somehow outrun the ache spreading through my chest. The doors opened. I stepped inside, and the moment they closed, I slid down the wall and let myself break. Not loudly, not dramatically, just quiet, hitching breaths and tears I couldn't stop, my hands pressed over my mouth to muffle the sounds. The elevator descended, and with each floor, the mental noise grew louder. Thoughts from throughout the building bleeding in like static on a bad radio station. Did you hear about the council meeting? The telepath Omega. Dangerous, unpredictable. Marcus is calling for emergency sessions. This isn't over. I tried to block it out. Failed. The voices kept coming, relentless and invasive, until I wanted to scream just to drown them out. The elevator dinged. Ground floor. I wiped my face quickly, stood up, and stepped out into the lobby like I hadn't just fallen apart 30 seconds ago. The night receptionist barely glanced at me as I walked past. Her thoughts were consumed with a text message drama involving someone named Brittany and a borrowed dress. Normal, mundane, almost comforting in its insignificance. Outside, Seattle was doing that thing where it pretended the rain had never happened. The streets gleamed wet under streetlights, the air sharp and clean, the city settling into its late-night rhythm. I started walking. No destination, no plan. Just movement, because standing still felt impossible. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I ignored it. It buzzed again and again. Finally, I pulled it out. Three texts, all from Callum. Callum, the car is waiting out front. Callum, driver will take you wherever you need to go. Callum, please use it. It's not safe to walk alone right now. Even now. Even after everything. He was still trying to protect me. I looked up and saw the black sedan idling at the curb, the same one from yesterday. The driver met my eyes through the windshield, his expression neutral, professional. Kid looks like he's been through hell. Boss said to take care of him, make sure he gets home safe. I could walk away, prove some point about independence, or I could accept the ride and save my stubbornness for battles that actually mattered. I got in the car. Where to? The driver asked. I gave him my Capitol Hill address, and he pulled into traffic without another word. His thoughts stayed mercifully surface level. Route planning, traffic patterns, nothing personal, nothing invasive. I leaned my head against the window and watched the city blur past. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Silas. Silas, I know you need space, but please let us know when you get home safe. Please. I typed back quickly. Me. In the car. I'll text when I'm home. 3 dots appeared immediately, then disappeared, then appeared again. Silas. Thank you. That was it. No guilt trip. No please, don't go. Just thank you. Somehow that made it worse. The drive took 15 minutes. 15 minutes of blessed silence in my head because the driver's thoughts stayed blessedly mundane, and I was too exhausted to reach for anyone else's. He pulled up outside my building, an old converted warehouse that had been split into studio apartments for people who valued character over comfort. You need help getting inside, Ricard? He asked. I'm good. Thanks. Boss said to make sure he gets inside safe, but he looks like he'll bite my head off if I push. Omega's got teeth. I almost smiled. Almost. Tell Callum I made it in one piece, I said. The driver nodded. Will do. I got out, climbed the 3 flights of stairs to my studio, and locked the door behind me. Home. If you could call 400 square feet of barely organized chaos home, the space was exactly as I'd left it this morning. Unmade bed shoved in the corner. Kitchenette that consisted of a mini fridge and a hot plate. Bathroom barely big enough to turn around in. Books and clothes and life scattered everywhere in a way that was somehow both messy and intentional. 6 months of survival made physical. I dropped my jacket on the floor, grabbed a blanket from the bed, and curled up on the beat-up couch I'd found on the street corner 3 months ago. My phone buzzed. Me. Home. Alive. In one piece. I sent it to all 3 of them in a group text because saying it 3 separate times felt like too much effort. The responses came immediately. Callum. Good. Lock the door. Set the deadbolt. Silas. Thank you for letting us know. Sleep well. Dante. Just dots. Nothing else. I stared at those 3 dots for a long time, wondering what he'd wanted to say, and decided against. I hate you for leaving. I love you too much to stop you. Come back. Don't come back. I don't know how to do this. I didn't either. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me swipe to accept. Hello? Omega Calloway. Elder Chen's voice, crisp and professional. I hope I'm not calling too late. Every muscle in my body tensed. What do you want? To speak with you, privately, without the interference of your alphas or the rest of the council. Why would I agree to that? Because I'm about to offer you something you need. A pause. Training. For your ability. I sat up slowly. What? Telepathy is rare, Omega Calloway, but it's not unheard of. I know someone who can teach you control, how to block unwanted thoughts, how to target specific minds, how to use your gift instead of being overwhelmed by it. And what do you want in return? Your discretion. Her voice lowered. What you heard in that council chamber. The secrets. The schemes. I'd like those to remain private. You want me to keep quiet about the corruption. I want you to understand that exposing every secret would destabilize the entire Pacific Northwest power structure. Pacts would fracture, territories would fall into chaos, Omegas would suffer most of all. She paused. But I also understand why you'd be tempted, why you'd want to burn it all down. I said nothing. The teacher I'm offering is good, Omega Calloway. The best. She can help you in ways your alphas cannot. All I ask in return is that you think very carefully before you use your gift to destroy the fragile peace we've built. That's not peace, I said quietly. That's just well-organized corruption. Perhaps, but it's stable, and stability keeps people safe. See, even if it's imperfect, I wanted to argue, wanted to tell her she was wrong, but I could hear her thoughts clear as day, and they were genuinely conflicted, genuinely worried, not for her own position, but for what would happen if the entire council structure collapsed. He could do it. With that ability, he could expose everything, tear down decades of careful balance. But would that make things better? Or would it just create a power vacuum that something worse fills? I'll think about it, I said finally. That's all I ask. I'll send you the teacher's contact information. She paused. For what it's worth, Omega Calloway, I'm sorry. For what Marcus tried. For what we failed to stop. You deserve better. She hung up before I could respond. I sat there in the darkness, phone in hand, mind racing, training. Real training for this ability that was currently making my life hell. But from someone connected to the council, someone who wanted my silence in return. Was that a fair trade? Was there even such a thing as a fair trade anymore? My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Unknown. My name is Dr. Yuki Tanaka. Elder Chen said you might call. I teach at Portland State University, psychology department. But my real expertise is in psychic phenomena. If you're interested in learning control, I can help. No strings, no council involvement, just teacher and student. Unknown. Also, I hear you're moving to Portland. Welcome to the neighborhood. I stared at the message. Portland State University, Portland. The place I'd already decided to go. Was this coincidence? Or had Elder Chen somehow known? She knows, of course she knows. Hosh, the council probably has eyes on you. Probably heard you say you were leaving. The thought should have been terrifying. Instead, it just made me tired. I typed back. Me. How much do you charge? Dr. Tanaka. First session is free. After that, we'll discuss terms. But I believe in sliding scale. Gifts shouldn't be limited by finances. Me. I'm not interested in working for the council. Dr. Tanaka. Good. Neither am I. I work for myself, and occasionally I work for people who need help. You seem like you need help. I almost smiled. Me. When can we start? Dr. Tanaka. Whenever you arrive in Portland, I'm here. The voices in your head aren't going anywhere. True? So painfully true. Me. Thank you, Dr. Tanaka. Don't thank me yet. Wait until after you've survived your first proper telepathic training session. And then we'll see if you still want to thank me. The messages stopped. I set my phone down and pulled the blanket tighter around myself. Tomorrow. Tomorrow I would pack. Tomorrow I would say goodbye. Tomorrow I would leave Seattle and the triplets and everything familiar. Tomorrow I would choose myself. But tonight, just for tonight, I let myself mourn what I was walking away from. The bond pulsed in my chest, warm and aching, and somewhere across the city, I felt them. Callum probably pacing, Silas probably staring at the ceiling. Dante probably. I reached out with my ability, just a little, just enough to feel, and found him on the balcony, staring at the city, his thoughts a loop of the same words over and over. Come back, please come back. I'll do better. I'll be better. Just come back. A tear slid down my face. I will, I whispered to the empty apartment. I promise, I will. But promises felt fragile tonight, fragile and breakable, and so very, very uncertain. I closed my eyes and tried to sleep, and failed. The first pale light of dawn was creeping through my window when I gave up on sleep entirely. I'd spent the night staring at the ceiling, listening to the city wake up around me, and trying not to reach out with my ability to check on them. I failed at that too. Around 3 a.m., I'd felt Callum finally crash on the penthouse couch, his thoughts exhausted and circular. Around 4, Silas had given up pretending and made tea, standing at the kitchen counter in silence. And Dante had never left the balcony. Even now, I could feel him there, cold and stubborn and refusing to come inside. If I come inside, it's real. If I stay out here, maybe morning never comes. Maybe he doesn't leave. My chest ached. I threw off the blanket and started packing. It didn't take long. 6 months of survival living meant I'd learned to keep things minimal. Clothes fit into one duffel bag, books into another, personal items into a backpack. Everything I owned could fit in the trunk of a car. The thought was depressing and liberating in equal measure. By the time I finished, sunlight was streaming through the window, and my phone showed 7:23 a.m. I'd promised to say goodbye properly. The thought of going back to that penthouse, of seeing their faces, of making this real and final and devastating, made me want to crawl back into bed and hide. But I'd promised, and I was done breaking promises to them. I grabbed my bags, locked the door behind me, and headed down the stairs. The landlord wouldn't care that I was leaving. I'd paid through the end of the month in cash. He'd probably have someone new in here by tomorrow. Outside, the morning was crisp and clear, the kind of Seattle day that made people forget about all the rain, the kind that felt like possibility or endings. I pulled out my phone and texted the group chat. Me, coming to say goodbye. Be there in 20. The response was immediate. Callum, we'll be waiting. Silas. Thank you. Dante didn't respond. I ordered a rideshare, and the driver showed up 3 minutes later in a beat-up Honda that smelled like coffee and yesterday's fast food. His thoughts were blessedly mundane, focused on his route and whether he'd have time for breakfast after this fare. I gave him the council building address. Big meeting? He asked, making conversation. Something like that. You look nervous. Do I? Yeah, like you're about to walk into a firing squad. He glanced at me in the rearview mirror. Want some advice? Not really. He gave it anyway. Whatever you're walking into, remember this. You're tougher than you think. People usually are. I almost laughed. You have no idea what I'm walking into. Doesn't matter. Advice still stands. He pulled up outside the building. Good luck, kid. Thanks. I paid, grabbed my bags, and walked inside. The lobby was emptier this time. Just the receptionist and a few early morning staff members whose thoughts barely registered. I headed straight for the elevators, rode up to the penthouse floor, and stood outside the door for a full minute before I could make myself knock. It opened before my knuckles touched wood. Silas stood there, looking like he hadn't slept at all. His hair was messy, his clothes rumpled, his blue eyes red-rimmed. Hi, he said quietly. Hi. We stood there for a moment, just looking at each other. He came. He actually came. I was so scared he'd just leave without saying goodbye. I promised, I said, answering his thought. I know. He stepped aside. Come in. The penthouse looked different in morning light. Less imposing, more tired. Callum was standing by the windows, dressed in fresh clothes but looking as exhausted as Silas. And Dante was still on the balcony. I could see him through the glass, his back to us, his posture rigid. If I turn around, I'll break. If I look at him, I'll beg him to stay. So I won't turn around. I won't look. I won't break. He's been out there all night, Callum said quietly. Won't come in, won't talk, just stands there. I know. Of course you do. He managed a tired smile. Still getting used to that. Join the club. I'm still getting used to it too. I set my bags down by the door. So, goodbye, I guess. Don't. Silas's voice cracked. Don't say it like that. Like it's final. Isn't it? No. He moved closer, his hands finding mine. It's not goodbye. It's see you later. There's a difference. Is there? I echoed Dante's words from last night, and Silas flinched. There has to be, he said, because I can't do goodbye. Not with you. Not ever. His thoughts were a mess of love and fear and desperate hope, and I squeezed his hands. See you later then, I whispered. Promise? I promise. He pulled me into a hug, and I felt him trembling. I'm going to miss you so much. I'll miss you too. Will you? The question was so small, so vulnerable. Or will you get to Portland and realize you're better off without us? Silas, it's okay. You don't have to answer. He pulled back, wiping his eyes quickly. Just be safe and happy. And if you need anything, anything at all, call. Please. I will. He stepped back, and Callum took his place. Unlike Silas, Callum didn't hug me. Just stood there, hands in his pockets, looking at me like he was trying to memorize every detail. The apartment in Portland, he said. It's ready. Fully furnished. Keys are with the building manager. His name is Robert Chen. He's expecting you. Thank you. There's also a car in the garage. It's yours, registered and insured. Callum, you don't have to. I do. His voice was firm. Let me do this. Let me know you're taken care of. It's the only thing keeping me sane right now. If I know he's safe, I can survive this. If I know he has what he needs, I can let him go. Please let me have this. Okay, I said. Thank you. The bank account Silas mentioned, it's substantial. Enough for a year at least if you're careful. Longer if you're frugal. I'm good at frugal. I know. His lips quirked slightly. 6 months in that studio proved that. We stood in silence for a moment. I love you, he said finally. I know I don't say it enough. I know I show it in controlling ways that make you feel suffocated. But I do. Love you. More than territory or title or anything else. The words settled in my chest, warm and heavy. I know, I said. I can hear it. Every time you think about me. It's overwhelming, actually. In a good way. In a terrifying way. Because I don't know if I can live up to being loved that much. You don't have to live up to anything. He stepped closer, his hand cupping my face. You just have to exist, that's enough. I leaned into his touch, memorizing the feel of it. I don't know when I'll be back. I know. I don't know if I'll be the same person when I do. I hope you're not. I hope you're whoever you need to be. His thumb brushed my cheekbone. Just come back. That's all I ask. Even if it's not for months, even then. Even if things are different between us, even then. He leaned down, his forehead resting against mine. I'll take whatever version of you comes back, as long as you come back. The bond pulsed, and I felt his sincerity in every fiber. Okay, I whispered. He kissed me then, soft and slow and devastating. Not desperate, not claiming, just goodbye or see you later, whichever hurt less. When he pulled back, his eyes were bright. Go talk to Dante before you leave, please. I don't think he wants to talk to me. He does. He's just scared of what he'll say if he does. I looked toward the balcony. Dante hadn't moved, still facing away, still rigid, still breaking. What if I make it worse? I asked. You won't. Silas touched my shoulder. You're the only one who can make it better. I took a breath, let it out, and walked to the balcony door. It slid open with a whisper. Dante didn't turn around. I'm not good at this, he said before I could speak. The whole letting go with grace thing. Watch, that's Callum and Silas. I'm the one who holds on too tight and breaks things. I know. So if I say something shitty right now, it's not because I don't love you. It's because I love you too much, and I don't know how to do it right. I moved to stand beside him, both of us looking out at the city waking up below. I forgive you in advance, I said. He laughed, bitter and sharp. Don't. I don't deserve it. Probably not, giving it anyway. We stood in silence, the morning sun warm on our faces. The city stretched out before us in all its messy glory. I almost hate you for this, Dante said finally. For leaving, for choosing yourself over us, for being brave enough to do what I never could. Which part? Leaving or choosing myself? Both. He turned to look at me, and his green eyes were devastated. How I've never chosen myself over anything, not once. Always the pack, always my brothers, always duty or responsibility or whatever the hell else needed doing. And here you are, just walking away, like it's simple. It's not simple, isn't it? You decided what you needed, you're taking it. That's simple. It's terrifying. It's brave. He reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear. And I'm so angry at you for it, and so proud of you for it, and so scared I'm going to lose you because of it. You're not losing me. Aren't I? His hand dropped. You're leaving, Ezra. You're walking away from the bond. From us, from everything we're trying to build. How is that not losing you? Because I'm coming back. You say that now. I mean it. Do you? He stepped closer, and the intensity in his gaze was almost physical. Are you just saying what we need to hear so we don't fall apart? The question hung between us, sharp and honest. I mean it, I said firmly, but I also can't promise I'll come back the same. I can't promise the bond will feel the same or that we'll fit together the same way. I can only promise I'll try. That's not enough. It's all I have. Dante stared at me for a long moment, something warring in his expression. Then quietly, I want to be enough for you. The words broke something in my chest. You are enough, Dante. You've always been enough. This isn't about you not being enough. It's about me needing to be enough for myself first. And you can't do that here? With us? No, I can't. Because here, with you, I'll always default to being your Omega instead of being Ezra. I held his gaze. And I need to know who Ezra is before I can be anyone's anything. He closed his eyes, breathing hard. I hate that I understand that. I know. I hate that you're right. I know that too. And I hate that I can't hate you for it. Yeah, I said softly. Me too. He opened his eyes and they were bright with unshed tears. Promise me something. What? When you figure out who Ezra is, when you're whole and strong and everything you need to be, he swallowed hard. Come show me. I want to meet him. The words undid me completely. I promise, I whispered. Dante pulled me into a hug, fierce and tight and desperate. I love you, even when I'm furious with you, even when I don't understand you, even when you're 3 hours away doing God knows what. I love you. I love you too. Then come back. I will. Soon. As soon as I can. He held me for another moment, then let go. Stepped back. Put distance between us like it physically hurt. Go, he said roughly, before I do something stupid like beg you to stay. I picked up my bags from inside and all three of them walked me to the door. The last image I had was the three of them standing there. Callum composed but breaking. Silas crying quietly. Dante looking anywhere but at me. See you later, I said. See you later, they echoed. And I walked away. Down the hall, into the elevator, out of the building, toward the car Callum had left for me, toward Portland, toward myself. The bond pulled tight in my chest, painful and real, but I didn't stop, didn't look back, just drove, in and tried not to feel like I just made the biggest mistake of my life. The car was a sleek silver sedan, newer than anything I'd ever driven, with leather seats and that new car smell that usually made people happy. It just made me nauseous. Or maybe that was the bond. I sat in the driver's seat, hands on the wheel, and couldn't make myself turn the key. 3 hours. Portland was 3 hours south. 3 hours of driving away from them, feeling the bond stretch with every mile, wondering if this time it really would snap. My phone buzzed. Callum, GPS is programmed with the Portland address. Drive safe. Text when you arrive. Silas, we love you. Dante, don't die. That's an order. Despite everything, I smiled. Me, I'll try not to. I started the car. The engine purred to life, smooth and quiet. And I pulled out of the parking garage into Seattle morning traffic. The city looked different in daylight, less imposing, more like just another place full of people trying to figure out their lives. I merged onto I-5 South, and the city started to fall away behind me, and the bond started to scream. Not painfully, not like before, just loudly, insistently, a constant pull that said wrong direction, turn around, go back. I gripped the wheel tighter and kept driving. The mental noise faded as I left the city limits. Fewer minds, fewer thoughts. Just open road and the hum of the engine and my own spiraling thoughts for company. You're doing the right thing. You're making a huge mistake. They need you. You need yourself more. What if you can't control this ability? What if you can and you lose them anyway? I turned on the radio, hoping music would drown out the noise in my head. It didn't help. 20 minutes outside Seattle, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. But the memory of Dr. Tanaka's text last night made me reconsider. I put it on speaker. Hello? Omega Calloway, this is Robert Chen, the building manager in Portland. Oh, hi. Just wanted to let you know the apartment is ready whenever you arrive. I've left the keys with my assistant in the lobby. She'll be there until 6. Thanks, I should be there by noon. Perfect. Also, he paused. Elder Chen called me this morning, asked me to look after you. Make sure you're settling in okay. Of course she did. I don't need looking after, I said, maybe a bit too sharply. Didn't say you did, just said if you need anything, I'm around. Building stuff, neighborhood recommendations, good coffee shops, whatever. His tone was friendly, unbothered by my attitude. No strings, no council involvement. Just a guy who manages a building and occasionally helps residents not starve their first week in a new city. I relaxed slightly. Sorry, it's been a long morning. I can imagine. Moving's always hell. He chuckled. Anyway, welcome to Portland. It's weird here, but in a good way. You'll fit right in. Thanks. We hung up and I focused on the road. The drive blurred. Towns passed. Rest stops appeared and disappeared. The landscape shifted from Seattle's dense urban sprawl to something greener, more open. And with every mile, the bond pulled tighter. But it didn't break. Around the 45-minute mark, I felt it. A shift. Like the bond had stretched as far as it could go and then adapted, accepted the distance. Still present, still aching, but no longer screaming. I could live with aching. My phone buzzed. A text from Silas. Silas, how are you feeling? Physically, I mean. The bond, me, hurts, but manageable. Still here. Silas, good, that's good. We feel it too, but we're okay. Me, promise? Silas, promise. I believed him. I could feel them through the bond. Distant but present, hurting but surviving. We'd survive this. Maybe that was enough. Portland appeared on the horizon just before noon, exactly as promised. The city rose up from the valley, modern and green and distinctly different from Seattle. Less imposing, more artistic, like someone had decided to build a city but forgot to take itself too seriously. I followed the GPS to the Pearl District, through streets lined with converted warehouses and trendy cafes, and people who looked like they'd walked out of vintage clothing stores. The building was beautiful, red brick, original industrial windows, a mix of old character and modern renovation that somehow worked. I parked in the garage, grabbed my bags, and headed inside. The lobby was bright and airy, all exposed brick and polished concrete. A young woman sat at the desk, probably mid-20s, with purple hair and a nose ring. You must be Ezra, she said before I could introduce myself. I'm Jamie, Robert's assistant slash building resident slash professional welcomer of new people. Hi, she pulled out a keyring. You're in 412, 4th floor, corner unit, best view in the building. Don't tell the other residents. She grinned. When there's an elevator, but the stairs are faster if you don't mind the climb. Stairs are fine. Cool. Oh, and there's a coffee shop 2 blocks down called Stumptown. Best coffee in Portland. And that's saying something, because this city is obsessed with coffee. Also, if you like books, Powell's City of Books is a must. It's massive. You can get lost for hours. I almost smiled. Thanks. No problem. If you need anything, just text or call. Numbers on the key tag. She handed over the keys. Welcome home. Home. The word felt foreign. I took the stairs, counting floors until I reached the 4th. The hallway was quiet, just the hum of distant music from someone's apartment and the smell of coffee brewing somewhere. Apartment 412 was at the end. Corner unit as promised. I unlocked the door and stepped inside, and stopped. It was perfect. Not in a sterile, staged way. In a way that felt like someone had actually thought about what I'd need, what I'd want. The main space was open, with tall windows overlooking the city. The furniture was comfortable without being ostentatious. Couch, table, desk set up in the corner. Kitchen that was actually functional. And through a doorway, a bedroom with an actual bed and soft-looking sheets. Nothing like my Capitol Hill studio. Nothing like the penthouse either. Just mine. I set my bags down and walked to the windows. Portland spread out below, green and gray and alive. Different from Seattle, different from everything. A fresh start. My phone buzzed. Callum. Did you make it? Me. Just walked in. It's perfect. Thank you. Callum. Good, I'm glad. Me. Really. Thank you. For all of this. Dear Callum. You don't have to thank me. Just be safe and happy. I looked around the apartment again, at this space that was wholly mine, and felt something settle in my chest. Not peace exactly, but possibility. Me. I'll try. I spent the rest of the afternoon unpacking. It didn't take long since I barely owned anything, but I took my time. Put books on shelves, hung clothes in the closet, made the bed with sheets that smelled like lavender. Made it feel like mine. Around 4, my phone rang. Unknown number, again. Hello? Ezra Calloway. A woman's voice, warm and slightly amused. This is Dr. Yuki Tanaka. I believe we texted last night. Oh, yes, hi. I hope I'm not interrupting your settling in, but I wanted to reach out before you had too much time to overthink whether to contact me. She laughed. We, people with new telepathic abilities, tend to overthink. A lot. How did you know you're a new telepath? Elder Chen told me. How did I know you overthink? I can hear you doing it right now. I froze. You can hear my thoughts? From wherever you are? No, relax. I can't read minds through phone lines. I just know the pattern. New telepaths always spiral the same way. Her voice gentled. But yes, I am telepathic. Have been for 20 years. And I can teach you control if you're willing to learn. What's the catch? No catch. Well, one catch. You have to actually show up and do the work. Telepathic control isn't something you can learn from a book or a YouTube video. It takes practice, discipline, and a willingness to face some uncomfortable truths about yourself. Like what? Like why you develop the ability now. When telepathy doesn't just appear randomly, it manifests in response to trauma, extreme stress, or a desperate need to understand something you couldn't otherwise know. She paused. So, which was it for you? I thought about the council chamber, about Elder Marcus trying to manipulate me, about 6 months of not knowing if the triplets had really betrayed me or if I'd just gotten it all wrong. All of the above, I said quietly. That's what I thought. Well, Ezra Calloway, if you want to learn how to control this gift instead of being controlled by it, I have an opening tomorrow. 10 a.m., my office on campus. Tomorrow? No time like the present. Besides, every day you go without proper shielding is a day you're vulnerable to every thought within your range. And trust me, you don't want to know what most people are thinking. She had a point. Okay, I said. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. We're on campus. She gave me directions and we hung up. I stood there holding my phone, feeling the weight of what I just agreed to. Training. Real training. The first step toward actually controlling this ability instead of drowning in it. My phone buzzed. Group text. Dante. Still alive? Me. Unfortunately. Dante. Good. Would be really anticlimactic if you died on day 1. Silas. Dante, don't joke about that. Dante. Who's joking? Callum. Have you eaten? Me. Not yet. Callum. There's a Thai place 3 blocks east called Pok Pok. Get the fish sauce wings. You'll thank me later. Me. Bossy even from 3 hours away. Callum. Someone has to make sure you don't starve. Despite everything, I smiled. Me. Fine. I'll get the wings. Silas. How does it feel? The apartment? The city? Me. Different? Good different. Scary different. Silas. That's perfect then. I set my phone down and looked around the apartment again. Different? Scary? Perfect. Mine. For the first time in as long as I could remember, I felt like I could breathe. Not freely, not without the bond aching in my chest or the mental noise buzzing at the edges of my consciousness. But enough. I grabbed my jacket and headed out to find the Thai place Callum had mentioned. The streets of Portland were alive with early evening energy, people walking dogs, couples holding hands, street musicians on corners, everyone moving through their lives with easy confidence, like they knew exactly where they belonged. I didn't know where I belonged yet, but for the first time, I thought maybe I could figure it out. The Thai place was exactly where Callum said it would be, tucked between a vintage bookstore and a coffee roastery. The smell hit me before I even walked in. Lemongrass, chili, garlic, and my stomach reminded me I hadn't eaten since yesterday. I ordered the fish sauce wings and pad thai, found a table by the window, and watched Portland move around me while I waited. My phone buzzed. Dr. Tanaka. One more thing before tomorrow. Bring something that grounds you. An object, a photo, something that reminds you who you are when everything else gets overwhelming. You'll need it. Me. Why? Dr. Tanaka. Because learning to shield your mind means facing everything you've been avoiding. And trust me, that's harder than it sounds. Great. The food arrived, and Callum was right. The wings were incredible. Sweet and savory and just spicy enough to make my eyes water. I ate slowly, savoring each bite, and for 20 minutes, I didn't think about bonds or telepathy or goodbyes. I just existed. It felt revolutionary. By the time I finished and walked back to the apartment, the sun was setting, painting Portland in shades of gold and amber. The city looked softer in this light, kinder. Inside my apartment, I stood at the windows and watched the light fade, and felt them. Callum was working, his thoughts focused on pack business, deliberately keeping himself busy. Silas was reading, something about ancient bond magic, probably trying to find ways to help me. And Dante was thinking about me. Wonder if he's eating. Wonder if the apartment's okay. Wonder if he's already regretting this. Wonder if I should text him or if that's too clingy. God, when did I become the clingy one? I pulled out my phone. Me. I'm eating. The apartment's perfect. I don't regret this. And you're not clingy. You're worried. There's a difference. 3 dots appeared immediately. Dante. Stop reading my mind. It's creepy. Me. Can't help it. You think loud. Dante. That's fair. How are you? Really? Me. Scared, hopeful, lonely. All of it. Dante. Same. Me. I miss you. Dante. Don't. You'll make this harder. Me. Too late. The dots appeared and disappeared several times before his next message came through. Dante. I'm proud of you for doing this, even though it's killing me. Me. It's killing me too. Dante. Good. Means you still care. Me. I never stopped. Dante. Then come home soon, please. Me. I will, when I'm ready, when I'm whole. Well, Dante, you're already whole, Ezra. You just don't see it yet. The words hit harder than they should have. I didn't respond, didn't know how. Instead, I found the box I'd packed with personal items and pulled out a photo. The 4 of us, taken 3 months after we'd bonded. We were on the roof of the pack house, the Seattle skyline behind us, all of us laughing at something Dante had said. We looked happy. We looked whole. I set it on the nightstand where I'd see it every morning, a reminder of what I was working toward. Not back to what we were, but forward to what we could be. I climbed into bed, exhaustion finally catching up, and closed my eyes. The mental noise was quieter here, just distant whispers instead of overwhelming static. Manageable. For the first time in days, I slept. Doctor. Tanaka's office smelled like green tea and old books. I'd been coming here 3 times a week for 12 weeks, and the scent had become as familiar as my own apartment. Show me your shields, she said, settling into her chair across from me. I closed my eyes and reached inward, finding the mental walls I'd been building, brick by brick, thought by thought, until I'd constructed something solid between my mind and everyone else's. Good, she said. Now push out. Let me feel them. I did, she smiled. Excellent. They're strong, flexible. You've come far, Ezra. Thanks to you. Thanks to you, she corrected. I just showed you the techniques. You did the work. She leaned forward. So, are you ready? For what? To go home. The words hung in the air like a challenge. I don't know if I'm ready. You are. Well, you've mastered shielding. You can target specific minds without being overwhelmed. You can block out ambient thoughts. You're in control. She tilted her head. But that's not really what you're asking, is it? What do you mean? You're not asking if you're ready to control your telepathy? You're asking if you're ready to face them again. Her expression gentled. And only you can answer that. I looked at the photo I'd brought to every session. The four of us on that rooftop, happy and whole and together. I miss them, I admitted. Every day, every hour. The bond aches constantly, and I hear them sometimes when my shields slip, and it's painful. Yeah, but necessary. She stood, moving to the window. You came here broken, Ezra, desperate to understand yourself outside the context of bond and pack. I have you? I thought about the last 3 months, the quiet mornings in my apartment, the walks through Portland streets, the coffee shops and bookstores and moments of just being, the slow, painful work of building mental shields and facing truths I'd been avoiding, the person I'd become in the silence. Yeah, I said, I have. Then what are you waiting for? Permission maybe, or certainty, or, I trailed off. Or forgiveness for choosing yourself, she finished. Ezra, you don't need permission to go home, and they don't need to forgive you for growing. If they can't understand why you needed this, then they're not worthy of who you've become. The words settled something in my chest. You're right. I usually am, she smiled. Now get out of my office and go home. Ash, you're taking up space that could be used for someone who actually needs help. I laughed, grabbed my jacket, and headed for the door. Ezra, she called. I turned. Remember what I taught you. Shields up, boundaries firm, and if they can't respect that, you walk away again. Understood? Understood. I left her office, left the campus, and drove to my apartment. Inside, I pulled out my phone and stared at it for a long moment. Then I texted the group chat. Me. I'm coming home. Tomorrow. If you still want me? The response was immediate. Callum. When? Silas. What time? We'll be ready. Dante. About damn time. I smiled. Me. Noon. Meet me at the pack house? All three. Yes. I set my phone down and looked around the apartment that had been home for 3 months. It had served its purpose, but it wasn't where I belonged. Not anymore. The drive to Seattle felt shorter this time. Maybe because I wasn't running away anymore. I was running toward. The pack house appeared through the trees, and my heart kicked into overdrive. The bond pulled tight, singing with proximity, and I felt them before I even parked. They were waiting outside, all three of them. I got out of the car slowly, and we just stared at each other. Callum looked thinner, tired, but his eyes were bright. Silas had cut his hair shorter. It suited him. And Dante looked like he'd been holding his breath for 3 months and was finally remembering how to breathe. Hi, I said. Hi, they echoed. Nobody moved. So, I said finally, I learned how to control my telepathy. Good, Callum said, and I figured out who I am outside of the bond. Even better, Silas added. And I still love you. All of you. So much it hurts. Dante's face crumpled. Then what the hell are you doing standing all the way over there? I laughed and it came out half sob. Waiting for permission, I guess. You never needed permission, Callum said, moving forward. You just needed to be ready. I'm ready. Promise? Silas asked, joining Callum. I promise. Dante crossed the space between us in 3 long strides and pulled me into a hug so tight I could barely breathe. Don't ever leave like that again. I won't. Promise? I promise. Not like that. Not without talking. Not without... He kissed me before I could finish, and it felt like coming home. When we broke apart, Callum and Silas were there, wrapping around us. The 4 of us tangled together in a way that was messy and perfect and real. And I missed you, Silas whispered. I missed you too. You're stronger, Callum observed. I can feel it. In the bond. In you. I am. I pulled back enough to look at all 3 of them. And I need you to understand that I'm not the same Omega who left. I have boundaries now. Shields. Things I won't compromise on. Can you handle that? We'll learn, Callum said. We'll try, Silas added. We'll probably mess up a lot, Dante admitted. But we'll try. That's all I ask. The bond pulsed between us, stronger now. Healed. Not perfect, but whole. Come inside, Callum said. We have a lot to catch up on. And food, Dante added. We made your favorite. You cooked? Well, we ordered it, but we put it on plates, so that counts. I laughed, real and full, and let them lead me inside, to the home I'd left, to the people I'd missed, to the life I'd chosen, not out of obligation or fear or bond desperation, but out of love, real, earned, chosen love. And for the first time in a year, I felt complete, not because they completed me, but because I'd finally completed myself and brought that whole person home. Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed it, you'll definitely love the next one. It's even crazier and more intriguing than you can imagine. Don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned. The next story drops soon.